And then I'm going to hit start webinar, and that will let members of the public in.
Cool.
And it's saying we're live.
All righty. Well, I saw Laura join. Nice to see you, Laura. Nice to meet you. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and get started. We've got a full house. We'll get to meet everyone on the call here. And this is the first. Oh, okay, so perfect. Chat function used for logistical issues is the idea. So thanks for letting us know, Megan. So the meeting's being recorded. The first community climate advisory committee. I guess for now, if you're not speaking, go ahead and put yourself on mute. That'll be useful. Thanks for joining, Zach. So my name's Eric Holthouse, and I'll just kick this off. I work as the city's sustainability coordinator, and I'm going to do a really quick agenda overview. First, I'll say that you're seeing a lot of people on this call. We have advisory committee members. We have some city staff. We have some consultants. We're going to see the advisory committee members more as the meetings continue, but we'll get to meet everybody involved today here at the beginning. And I'll share the agenda just really briefly, and then we'll jump to a couple other people quick. So we'll be getting to introductions here in a few. We're going to start with this kickoff. Around 3:40, we're going to go to project team introductions. Around 3:50, we're going to jump to staff introductions and public meeting process. We're going to go on to meeting community climate advisory committee members at around 4:05. So a little bit of logistics up front to cover. That'll be kind of unique to this meeting. At around 4:30, we're going to do a fun exercise on expectations, process, and timeline. And then we'll be segueing at the very end to preview the next meeting and talk about how we frame equity and how that becomes a priority for us. So that's the general FYI and what's going on today. We'll talk to two folks next. I'm going to turn it over to Sandy Fowler, and then we're going to hear some housekeeping from Sylvia, who works for the city as well. But just quickly then, I'm going to turn it over to Sandy Fowler. Sandy, would you like to unmute yourself and give yourself a brief introduction?
Absolutely. Welcome, everyone. I am so happy to see you all meeting today. My name is Sandy Fowler, and I'm the Deputy City Manager for the City of Cedar. I am so excited about your group tonight or today, and working with Eric Holthouse and with the Great Plains Institute team. A number of city staff are supporting Eric in this effort, and I'm trying to help him navigate this fantastic project that is upcoming that will engage our entire community with your help and leadership. So as you go through this, I just wanted to make sure that you met me as a resource. If you need anything as you're going through this, Eric is going to be a constant resource for you. I'm not able to stay for the whole meeting, so you'll see me disappear here after a little bit, but please know that we value your input, your time, your effort. I think it's going to be an exciting project. It's certainly a first one in Cedar Rapids. I think in this area, we are unique in this way. We're very proud of the leadership the city is taking in this endeavor, and we look forward to all of your input. We want you to step up and really give great ideas and perspective to lead this effort for our community. So thank you for being here, and thank you for your commitment to the City of Cedar Rapids.
Awesome. Thanks a lot, Sandy. And I think a lot of you on the call would know that all this emanates from the climate resolution that was passed last winter by our city council. And I think you'd probably have an opportunity to review the really important mission that we're here to address of greenhouse gas mitigation, addressing the urgency for climate action, making a plan that addresses resilience, addresses vulnerability, and basic needs that we have here in Cedar Rapids. So I think that's not news to you, but it's a really special mission, and this is a really special, awesome team we have here. So just to echo Sandy, there's a lot of support for this, and I think that's a little bit evident, at least in this phone call, and kind of the awesome group of people we have here. So I'll turn it over to Sylvia. Sylvia, Sylvia Bruckert is my colleague, and she's going to provide some housekeeping notes as she helps to run this meeting for us.
Hello, good to meet you. My name is Sylvia Bruckert. I'm in the Community Development Department as a planner, and I'm just kind of helping facilitate the Zoom meeting today. So just kind of wanted to go over a couple quick housekeeping things. Since it's a pretty big meeting, I'm going to recommend that when you're not speaking, keep yourself on mute, which it looks like everyone already has down, so that's good. If anyone's name is not as they would like it to appear, feel free to right-click on your own picture, and then there's an option to rename yourself. I would also recommend, since there's a lot of us here, anyone from the city team or the consultant team, it might be helpful if you could add what group you're with, and then we'll just assume anyone who doesn't have that is one of the committee members. And then the last couple things, so for the chat function, we're going to try to avoid using that as much as we can, just so that we're all having a conversation in the group. But if you're experiencing any technical issues or have any questions about that, feel free to put something in the chat and I'll see if I can help you out with that. And then the other thing, just because we are a larger group, you know, when it gets a little bit further down and we're doing some more discussion, or if you have questions, we're going to use either, there's the raise hand button that you'll see along the bottom of your screen, but it will put up the little raise hand emoji if you have something you'd like to say, or you can also just like raise your physical hand, that's fine too. And I think that's really all that I have for housekeeping. Thanks, Eric.
You did great, Sylvia. Thanks. Okay, awesome. So I think that'll be a good time to transition then to our next topic. Trying to see if there'd be anything else to address here. So yeah, we'll turn it over and we'll get to hear now from the consultant team. Oh, what I was going to mention was thanks for your patience in getting this meeting set up with some moments of number confusion and different links and whatnot. So that was a demonstration of perseverance for us all. So thanks for getting through that. And it's just going to be smooth rolling from here on out. So we'll turn it over to Abby Finnis and she'll help to introduce the consultant team. Abby?
Great, thank you, Eric. I'm Abby Finnis with the Great Plains Institute and lead manager for this project. And I know that our team is really excited to meet you all and kick off this project and get it going, because Cedar Rapids has really demonstrated that it has its ducks in a row and is very well geared up for success for both the development of the Community Climate Action Plan as well as implementation. So what we're going to do is just kind of introduce ourselves so that you know who's working on this project. We have a number of project leads as well as project staff, so you get to meet most of us here today. We won't all be on all of the meetings, but we wanted to make sure that they saw us and got to meet us, and we got to meet you as well. So again, I'm Abby Finnis with Great Plains Institute. The Great Plains Institute is a nonprofit based out of Minneapolis that works on energy issues kind of broadly. And then I and the team from the organization work on our communities team, primarily delivering technical assistance to local governments on climate and energy. So I'm gonna introduce or let Jessie and Chris introduce themselves, and then we'll roll to other team members. So Jessie.
Thanks, Abby. Hi, everyone. Nice to meet you all. My name is, well, not yet. About to be meeting you. My name is Jessie Wyatt. I'm an energy planner and analyst with the Great Plains Institute. And for this project, I'll be largely supporting the existing conditions element, which you may not know what that is yet, but it's sort of where are you, where have you been, and then a lot of data analytics, and then as well as engagement pieces throughout. So really excited to be working with you all. Chris?
Thanks, Jessie. Hi, everyone. My name is Chris Acuna, and I'm with the Great Plains Institute as well, and I will be providing project support overall to Abby and Jessie, as well as some of the engagement work as well. So I'll pass it off back to Abby.
Great. And we have really awesome team members in LHB and Asakura Robinson, and I'll start with LHB because it's just you, Becky, and then we'll go to the remainder of the team.
Sounds good. So I'm Becky Alexander. I'm a researcher with LHB, which is actually an architecture and engineering firm based out of Minneapolis and Duluth in Minnesota. And but I've been doing, for the bulk of my 9 years there, I've been doing greenhouse gas inventories and climate action planning. So my role on the project will be to help out with communicating the existing conditions in terms of the greenhouse gas inventory that the city has already completed, and then to work on quantifying the emissions impacts of different reduction strategies that show up throughout the planning process.
Great. And then finally, I'll turn it over to Katie Coyne to introduce her team.
Thanks, Abby. My name is Katie Coyne. I'm a principal with Oscar Robinson. We're a planning, design, and landscape architecture firm with offices around the country. Our home base is Houston, but we're represented with our Minneapolis lead here, Zach Lockram, who will introduce himself in just a moment. Most of the work that I lead really focuses on climate justice and equity, and also on resilience. And so really thinking about not just climate resilience, but economic resilience and social resilience really holistically. And a lot of my other work looks at parks and health and ecotourism and all of the other things that complement the way I love to think about all these complicated systems that make cities great places to live. And we'll be leading all of the resilience related scope and also the community engagement scope. So I'll hand it off to Zach to introduce himself.
Hey, I'm Zach Lockram. I'm a managing principal in Minneapolis. In true COVID fashion, I have a kid doing a piano lesson right over there, so I'll keep myself short, but I'll be helping with the public engagement.
And then Ucha, do you want to go next?
Yes. Hi, everyone. I'm Ucha Abba with Oscar Robinson, and I'll be supporting on the resilience pieces of the project.
Awesome. I'll hand it back to Abby.
Yeah, so that is our team. And again, you know, we're really excited to work with you all, and we think this will be a really successful project that will have good results for the city. So I will hand it back to Eric.
Awesome. Well, good to get the consultant team's introductions. It's there's so much talent, I think, in this virtual room, and a climate action plan is really important. And I think as you look at it, you say that we want to have a lot of expertise. And that comes in, with the consultants being able to help us, drawing from, across the country, certainly, in what works best and how these things can become successful in the short and the long term, and that this process will feel really good and connect with our community. And we'll talk a bit about it here in a couple parts later in the agenda, but everyone on this call, the committee members, will have really valuable information to share, no matter who you are in your background. You're really critical to this process. So we're happy to have a whole lot of expertise joining us to lead with this. And choosing the Great Plains Institute, they were awesome. There's a lot of different consultants that applied, and Great Plains Institute and their partners really stood out. So fantastic to have them working on this. So the way I relate to the consultant team, Abby's my point of contact, and then the Climate Advisory Committee members, you can go through me for any questions, feedback. I'll always be your point of contact. So just to note that, we're moving along pretty well on the agenda, so that's good. That means we'll be able to have more time for probably introductions of all committee members. And we'll also possibly have some questions here. So this is a point of the agenda to talk about the public meeting process. And I guess I can give a little bit more of an introduction here, but so I've worked for the city for about 5 years now, and I work as the city sustainability coordinator, and we've been on a really fantastic trajectory of, a comprehensive plan that really embraces sustainability, that says this is the vision for our community. When I started working, there was a lot of momentum already in the city manager's office, the city operation, the community. We did a really big sustainability assessment. We made a municipal sustainability plan, and then with a lot of community council engagement and activism and interest, we landed on this really fantastic climate resolution. And here we go now, expanding our ambition and the urgency of climate action, and the really great things that can come out of a plan like this to the community. So it's a really great progression, and we're really proud of it. But on to the public meetings. This is a public meeting. Some of you have participated in these before. I'm relatively new to this, so I'm a staff liaison to this team. And the point of public meetings, I mean, it demonstrates that it's important to the city. We want everyone to be able to you know, there's a process to join the committee, but we want the public to be able to watch and to be able to know what we're doing, how decisions are made. So some of these things might at times seem a little bit slower and efficient, sort of my mistakes aside, with the Zoom links and whatnot. But that's all for transparency. That's all for the public good. That's why we do these things. So, you know, there are requirements for us to share agendas within a certain period of time. It has to be posted, you know, 24 hours at least in advance. We send out other notifications to the public, like a media release. This stuff will be on the website. We update the city's calendar of events. You can all go to the website for this Climate Advisory Committee. If you go to the Cedar Rapids boards and commissions, you'll find the Climate Advisory Committee. You'll find all of our agendas when they're posted and the minutes when they're posted. So Chris is taking minutes for this meeting with Great Plains Institute. So everything, you know, of material that's talked about will be available to look at. And the public, I don't know how many, but we'll find, Sylvia would know, but people can watch as well. And we're recording this as well. And so that's important stuff to know. This is
We
a
have 5 people on right now, by the way, just if you're curious.
Alrighty. Thank you for that, Sylvia. This is a pretty, if you've been part of committees before, some can feel pretty formal. They use Robert's rules. Our goal here is to be pretty comfortable and for us to feel connected and not to have layers of not bureaucracy, but just kind of, you know, process that gets in the way of us feeling comfortable. And so we're going to be pretty informal. The most important thing is that we'll be following the agenda. You certainly have the opportunity anytime that you would like, of course, to, you know, raise your hand with the real hand or the emoji hand. But the important part of our meetings and the important part of sharing the agenda with the public beforehand is so that the public and you all know what we should be talking about and what the content matter is. So if someone from the public wanted to say, this is really important to me, I want to hear the discussion, they can do that. And so if there was ever a time that, you know, the conversation started to drift and get outside of the realm of the agenda, we would say, hey, that's looking to be a little bit outside of the scope of this conversation. We could table that. It could be on a next agenda. I might reach out to you and say, okay, what is it that you want to discuss? This is how we might be able to incorporate that at a future time, something like that. So we'll always be mindful of keeping things in the realm of the agenda because that is a fair and transparent and public process. That's the point there. I think some other things too to cover. Let's see here. Quorum. So we have a committee of 13 people. So anytime that we have 7 or more people in a discussion, we technically have a meeting. And that meeting technically needs to have been announced. And so that's why, you know, when we intend to have a quorum, we intend to have these meetings, we share the public notice in the different ways that we're supposed to, and we have our meeting. So actually, as I was watching the same video you all did to, you know, learn how public meetings work, you know, I had some questions that I had to figure out, and I was able to ask, whether it be Sandy, Sylvia, different people in the city who have done this before, and some of you might have more experience with public meetings than me. But one of the things that almost makes it look like you can't have conversation outside of the meeting, but that's not the case. Anytime that you just want to chat with someone on the committee, you can certainly do that. Talk about whatever you'd like. You could have a conversation with up to 6 members of the committee. But then if you hit 7, that'd be a problem. And so that is when you would technically be having a meeting, right? And that's when you would technically have to give notice. So this is where the quorum will exist, 7 or more people talking through these meetings typically. Or I mean, that's what we need to do. So don't feel like you can't send an email, send a text, phone call, talk to someone. I don't know if anyone had any fear about that, but you know, it can look pretty, you know, rigid, the process. So I just wanted to say some of those things. And also interestingly, by email exchanges, one of the reasons if I send out an email to the group, I'm going to BCC everybody, because if it so happened that I didn't, and we started, you know, someone replied all and shared something interesting, someone else replied all, someone else replied all, that would begin to be a technical meeting if 7 or more people were in that exchange. And so that's why even by email, we need to be mindful of quorum, which again is 7 or more people. two other things to note, and then we can see if there's any questions. Abby and I will function as co-chairs in the meeting, so we'll be putting together agendas, we'll be sending them out, we'll be trying to do our best to, of course, stay within time. That's really important. A lot of these things we could probably discuss for a very, very long time, but we're, of course, all going to do our best to, try to hear from everyone, but try to have productive meetings where we can get through what we need to with this big mission at hand. And we make decisions with discussion and consensus. And when we feel like everybody's been heard, that'll be really important. We won't be voting on things like in a formal sense, but we will be asking for everyone's opinion. We want to hear everybody. We want to feel like the group is ready to move on when we come to decision points about priorities, values, hearing opinions. So that's really important to this group. But all in all, I think, knowing what quorum is, knowing that this all works for the purpose of public transparency, and then knowing that we all want to feel comfortable and connected to this process. Hey, Dennis, thanks for joining.
I apologize, I was late.
That's all right. We got through some introductions. You'll see all of our names that you're seeing. If you have gallery view open, you can see who committee members are, and we'll actually get to those introductions here in a moment. So, so you didn't miss that part. I've just been going a little bit over public meetings. And, not really having conversations with 7 or more people basically is the rule. And otherwise, this is going to be comfortable and we want to feel connected. We want to be able to express ourselves, make decisions where we think everyone's been heard. And then we introduced the consultant team. We spent some time with that. So we have a really fantastic group, a few partners, the Great Plains Institute, LBH and Asakura Robinson. Did I say those letters right? I think it's LBH. Sometimes I want to say LLB.
LHB.
Okay.
Left-handed batter is how my great uncle remembers it.
What'd you say?
Left-handed batter. I don't know. Baseball.
All right, awesome. We all needed that. I think I covered the things that I intended to with sort of the, how these public meetings work. If you have any questions, I'll be your point of contact. It's fine to have questions. It's fine to not know things. Express those. We have a bit of time right now. If you have any questions, or if anyone even like Sandy, I don't know if you'd want to chime in. I probably covered the skeleton of this. Okay. Any questions, any feedback on this? We can hear from
I guess I have a question, Eric. So overall, maybe, and I'm part of another city commission. So a lot of it's like based on, it's more neighborhood commission, but I guess could you explain a little bit what you see as the main goal of this commission? Like, what are we trying to achieve? Are we trying to like suggest policy? Are we trying to just like provide input as just citizens of the city of what we're trying to achieve? I guess like just to give me a little more clarity of what would my involvement or what is expected of us as committee members?
Yeah, I think I'll answer that briefly. And I think Abby, would it be correct that you'll spend some more time on that as well? Yeah, thanks for that question. Spending so much time with this, I sometimes don't know what needs to be communicated at times. So that's a great question. So our city council passed last winter a resolution that said we have, as a community, we're declaring an urgency for climate action to address climate change. We have really ambitious goals for reducing greenhouse gases. We have really ambitious goals for building a more resilient community to really hot days, major flooding events, a whole host of other types of stressors and shocks that you could consider in a resilience plan. And we also want to prioritize equity and vulnerability and help residents, certainly residents that have the least, help them achieve basic needs like access to green space and parks, access to food deserts, access to good paying green jobs. And so with that whole mission at hand, City Council said, and we will form a committee to help lead that process, a committee that has a diversity of members on it. And we, as time goes on, will be meeting with focus groups, getting more opinions, doing another public survey. But I think the general impetus, without taking kind of the wind away from Abby and the team, is, yeah, so we'll be advising on, what are the best strategies? How do we balance goals of equity, cost, You know, who's benefited first? Where do we focus on industry, homes, businesses? What are the best strategies for greenhouse gas reduction? We need your opinions on that. We'll need your opinions on the best strategies for building resilience. And we'll need your input, like as a business owner, other people's inputs as connected to different nonprofits, different groups in town. We want to hear just your opinions, basically your perspective for things that might address policies, things that might address, you know, educational missions, things that might address other practices that might be either short or long term. And we'll build a climate action plan that will, you know, get public input toward the end of the creation of it again, the full city's input, and then we'll have council hopefully pass that in September of 2021. We'll have a community climate action plan that shows strategies, who does what are the policies, resources, practices needed to achieve these really ambitious goals. Would you have anything more specific, or is that an okay overview? And I know, Abby, you'll be talking about this more too, so it's a big mission. So anything more specific, Anna?
No, I think that answered my question. Thank you.
I am going to have to jump off, but I think I would just say there are 35 or 40 boards and commissions in the city. The difference in this one is that it's considered a task force. It has a time limited time. You've committed to the time that this plan is put together. And really how I look at it is your deliverable is that community climate action plan. And you're to help the city staff and our consultant staff and reasonably the city council create that plan. One that has champions. We expect you to be champions of that plan and to develop champions in the community so that when it's adopted, you have a lot of support for the actions that are held within it that then would be implemented over years. So we're excited about this work. It is kind of fast and furious, right? It's going to be a lot of work in a short amount of time, but I think it's going to have a real impact. And the team's been really working hard on some things to show you, and so these first few meetings will be exciting. So I think it's a great challenge for you, but the kind of the good news is it is in a short term at its beginning phase.
That was really good input. Thanks for that, Sandy. Yeah, it's really project based, and we want a plan that the community cares about once it's released. And so we need you as the tentacles into the community with your good opinions and connections to make sure that it works for the community. Would there be any other questions about the either task at hand or how public meetings function? Any curiosities hopefully I could answer, or anything from anyone in the group? Feel free, even if you think it, you know, if you think it's a basic question, someone else probably has the same question. Alrighty. Well. I think we're ready to transition on then. Cool. So I think that we're going to go ahead and move to Abby, and we're going to get to, for the next couple points on the agenda, get to hear from committee members. So I'm really excited for that. Abby, you want to go ahead?
Yeah, thank you. So we spent a little bit of time introducing ourselves, and we'll get more into the project and in the next agenda item, but we really want you all to be able to both get to know each other and for us to get to know you as well. You know, you're going to be pretty tight for the next, 8 months or so in coming to these meetings and making some of these decisions. So it's really important that that you're able to, have these conversations and get to know each other. Ideally, this would be in person, but here we are, and maybe in some respects, it's a little bit easier to jump online than to try to make it to the same place. So we'll do the best that we can with virtual meetings and knowing each other from afar. So I'm going to share my screen real quick, which is going to put you into a little bit of a different view. But I'm not going to keep it up during the introductions because I do want us to be able to see each other as much as possible, but just to give you a visual of what we're asking you to share. So we're just going to go around. I'm going to call on folks as I kind of see them on my screen to state your name, share with us why you decided to apply and join this committee, and then we are asking you all to share what your climate utopia looks like. So Sylvia is also putting these questions into the chat just as some prompts for you all to go through that. So I'm gonna stop sharing, bring us back to the full view here. And then I'm just gonna list off folks. I'll do 3 at a time as I see you on my screen. So we have Jean and then Jason and then Christine to start us off.
I am Jean Wiedenheft. I'm the Director of Land Stewardship at Indian Creek Nature Center. A few years ago, I was the project manager for us to build a very sustainable building. It is net zero energy. And one of the things we do a lot of is talk to people about the environment around them and climate change. And it's really important to me to continue to support the community in any way I can to make that important to everybody and see what we can do about some of these bigger issues that nobody can solve by themselves. And I think a climate utopia for me is a place where there is no, I don't want to say no stress, but people do not have to worry about what the changing climate means to them on a daily basis. And the community can support itself in the long term.
Great, thank you, Jean. And then we'll go to Jason.
I'm Jason Snell. I'm with Sunrise Movement, Cedar Rapids. Share why I joined. I joined our hub leader, Bridget Williams, and another member, Dorothy Hogue. They wrote the climate resolution, so I wanted to just be here and part of the implementation process. I'm really excited that it passed and that it's coming into fruition. I was part of some of the political work that was necessary in the beginning to get the process started with climate strikes and Sunrise, and so it's nice to get to the actual here we are with implementation. So that's an honor to be here. Climate Utopia, our main focus is climate justice, and want to see environment that isn't just clean air and clean water and good conditions, really for everyone, not just wealthy white people. So that's our primary goal. Thanks.
Great. Christine.
Hi, everyone. I'm Christine Sorensen. I'm the Green Team Coordinator for the Cedar Rapids Community School District. So it's kind of a mouthful, but job is sort of evolving as well, which is what we wanted. But so I work with teams in specific schools that are students, project-based learning, who want to implement more sustainable practices within their schools and environmental education. But it's also sort of evolving into more of a sustainability like program type coordinator position as well. So the reason why I joined the committee and wanted to be on the committee is because Eric has actually been very helpful in our sustainability plan that we're building right now for the district, which will hopefully come out this spring. And he's on my committee for that. And we've partnered on a few things so far, but he's been very instrumental in helping me figure out the best ways to get the district to be sustainable as well. So Climate Utopia for me, I think looks 2 ways. Earth's natural resources are actually able to sustain themselves adequately, once again, for life on Earth, but also students' environmental education simply becomes a regular part of curriculum. Sustainable practices are a part of everyday life, and that's normalcy. And that's what I want to see. So that's what it looks like to me.
Great, thank you. Next up, Kelsey, Rachel, and Magisha.
Hi, I'm Kelsey Bedwell. I'm the Director of Financial Stability is my actual title. I run the Financial Coaching and Wellness Program and the Neighborhood Transportation Services for Horizons here in Cedar Rapids. I joined this committee. I was kind of brought to my attention by Eric and a couple of other community members, and just seeing the impact of the resolution, how powerful it was, having the opportunity to take a part in that work, and also bring the lens specific to clients we have that use a very unique model of transportation we have in Cedar Rapids, which is evening and weekend transportation. So definitely join to kind of advocate for and further the justice for them. A climate utopia for me, it's really focused. I tend to narrow down pretty heavily. So I'm really focused on having transportation options that are not only sustainable for the environment and decrease or eliminate emissions, but they also provide a high quality of service. And so kind of like Jason mentioned, like we're not just trying to benefit the wealthy white people who could afford an electric car, but allowing individuals whose only model of transportation might be public transport to still have a decision and a say in how that impacts the environment around them. I think that's very important. So excited to be a part of the team and to learn and hear about all of your experiences and experience within this field.
Rachel.
Hi everyone, I'm Rachel Maker. I own a vintage and handmade shop here in town called Found Informed, and I've worked with some local climate groups, Sierra Club, and I've recently joined Sunrise Movement. Very excited about that. And Eric told me about this group and the opportunity. I'm very excited to be with this team. I think the biggest why of why I continue to work with environmental programs is one, because I love being outside and I love the environment, but I think the biggest reason is that not everyone gets to enjoy that and has access to that. And accessibility is the biggest driving force for me. I want to represent the food insecure and the people who have to grow food because they can't afford their groceries, which is my case. So I really want to be that voice for people. My climate utopia would be that people would have access to food that's grown here, just good food and the basics that they need. Yeah.
Magisha.
Hi everyone, my name is Mugisha Boyenge, and I guess I'm an immigrant. I was born in the Democratic Republic of the Congo, and Cedar Rapids has been my home for 20 years now. About 2 years ago, I founded United We March Forward, a nonprofit organization here in Cedar Rapids, helping refugees and immigrants assimilate into the community. And for me, it was more of coming here at a young age. I was fortunate with so many opportunities, guidance and leadership from the community and many other people. And I always think, my success is because of the community that I was in and the people that were there to support me. So why I joined? I think for me, it's more of, I always enjoy giving back. And as a community leader in a nonprofit and also in the immigrant community, I'm always looking at ways to understand what's going on and bring it back to refugee immigrants and refugees and immigrants. So that way they also have the access to those resources and opportunities so they can also better themselves. I think like what everyone has been saying, a lot of time, certain vulnerable population, the immigrants and many others get left behind. But as we've seen with the pandemic and as we look at climate change, this is something that it'll be global. I mean, it is global and it's going to affect everyone. And if we don't get everyone on board, we're doing a disservice. So we have to include everyone, and that might be informing them, providing the education, providing the resources, so everyone can have a role in, saving our climate. So I guess for me, my climate utopia, what it looks like, I think it's been a few years now. I've been trying to get a more understanding of who I am, and what I always look at, just the world in general, earth, water, air, I mean, these things are just natural, you know, and we can't find that in the moon. We can't find that in Mars. So, and these are the things that give us essence of living. It's part of who we are, you know, the food, starting from the food that comes from the soil and the air that we breathe. Everything, we coexist with that, from us breathing out and the plants breathing it in, and vice versa. So I think my climate utopia is to make sure that we do save this planet, and also that we make sure everyone has access to that. You know, Lord forbid, we start selling air, you know, and no one has access to that. So I'm here, you know, to be part of that journey and hopefully bring some change to our community and our world.
That's great. Thank you. John, and then Laura, and then Mark.
I'm John Zakrasik. I'm a director of Lynn Clean Energy District, and our mission is to accelerate the transition to clean energy in a just and equitable manner. And I joined because of a grave concern I have about where we are as a community and as a country and as a nation and the world with respect to climate change. I would like to do everything I can to help move us along. And I'm absolutely ecstatic at what Cedar Rapids did in adopting this resolution and establishing a team to actually plan actions that will move us forward. So I'm delighted and excited to be a part of this team, this awesome team, and actually have a chance to participate in doing some significant things to help us save our planet and make a good life for all people everywhere. And then as far as my climate utopia, it's clean air, water, and soil, and the natural regenerative processes that nature gave us through millennia, restoring those to their full, vibrant place, and allow all people, as has been said many times, to have access to that, equal access, just access.
Thank you. Laura.
Sorry, John, that was very moving. I couldn't find my unmute. So I'm Laura Barr, and I am actually with Alliant Energy. And I'm very proud to say that today we made an announcement that in Wisconsin, we will be completely coal-free by 2024. So I'm very excited about that. But I work in our environmental services and sustainability area. I've been there about a year. Prior to that, I worked with our dispatch area. So like when the derecho went through and we were all out of power, that was a real interesting time. Why I joined, Cedar Rapids is just so progressive in what they're doing here. And to be completely selfish, I want other towns and cities to replicate this. So to be here and witness the process and have your passions rub off on me is something that hopefully I can take throughout our territory. And then my utopia sounds really, really business centric, and I'm sorry, but we each come from our own areas. I want a future where corporations, businesses do the right thing for the environment, not just because it's the right thing, but because we've created a model that makes it the best financial move, so we don't have to sell this so hard. So that would be what I want. But I also really want really good bus transportation. So Kelsey, get on that.
Mark.
Hi, I'm Mark Weldon. I work for Quaker Oats here in Cedar Rapids. I'm a sustainability engineer, and in my role, it's basically aimed at supporting our plants to improve energy efficiency, water efficiency, waste minimization, all those kind of things. In terms of joining the advisory committee, we're Quaker's a part of PepsiCo, and so our work is really focused on meeting PepsiCo's environmental sustainability goals. And they're not just for our own manufacturing plants, but they reach out beyond that. And so to me, this was an opportunity to try to make a difference in one of the communities in which we operate. So in terms of Utopia, I'm a big fan of renewable energy. So that's probably my definition of Utopia, is that there's our culture and economy would be based on renewable resources, and there'd be plenty to go around.
Thank you, Mark. Next up, Megan, Anna, and Dennis. You can go ahead, Megan. I'm not sure if we have your audio.
Megan, I saw your message about needing to unmute you on our end. I'm not seeing that as an option. You should be unmuted, but we're not hearing you.
Sylvia, alternatively, would there be an option? Maybe she doesn't go right away. Is there an opportunity to call in? I haven't looked at that myself.
Yeah, her message says she's using the phone for audio, so we'll have to unmute her. And then Jason said, looks like her audio is disabled.
If you're on the phone, I think it's, and Ucha, correct me if I'm wrong, *6 to unmute yourself.
Doesn't seem like *6 worked. Let me.
Yeah, how about we go to Anna, and then maybe Sylvia, you can help Megan behind the scenes.
Yeah, I'll see if there's something on our end.
Great, thank you.
Megan could do some typing if she wanted to while she waits.
That could also work. So we do want to hear you.
Sure.
All right, Anna.
Okay. All right. Hi, everyone. My name is Anna Mclean, and my husband and I own a brewery in Cedar Rapids, Lion Bridge Brewing Company. But before my life as a brewery owner, restaurant owner, I actually, a big passion of mine is the environment. So my first official job was actually at the World Resources Institute in Washington, D.C. I worked there for a while, and then I also worked at an international development agency that worked with the World Bank and also USAID on implementing different types of projects worldwide. And most of the projects that I worked on were climate related or environmental related. So it has been a huge passion of mine. And when Eric approached me, it really got me excited because I hope that I can bring in like the small business owner perspective, but also a previous passion of mine that I had. So that's why I joined. My climate utopia, it looks a lot like what everybody else has said already. But also, I guess my biggest thing is I would just want everybody to be on the same page regarding the climate. I think my utopia is that it stops becoming so politicized and we all can just get on the same page and move forward because it's definitely something that's going to affect us all. And the sooner we can all, as humanity, as a country, can all get in the same page, I think we will get faster. But I know it's also a utopia. So I guess that's mine.
Perfect, thank you. And then Dennis and Carter.
Hi, my name is Dennis Rigby. I work for King's Material here in Cedar Rapids. King's is a family-owned Cedar Rapids family that has been in business for about 136 years. They started dredging sand out of the Cedar River down by the 5-in-1, where the 5-in-1 bridge is, and that's where Kingston Village came from. All the names on the southwest side that have Kings in them was from the King family. And then the local family here in Cedar Rapids purchased them quite a few years ago. I'm the plant manager. I am the location manager here at the southwest side, right across from the Public Works building. You guys have probably seen the red King sign, a car up on the post. We don't sell cars. We are a producer of concrete block, pavers. We do not produce, but we buy and sell brick and masonry products. One thing that almost everybody has spoken to is sustainability. And there is probably nothing more sustainable than a masonry building produced the correct way, with local products within 50 miles of Cedar Rapids. The reason I joined is because I wanted to get 22 other people's intake on how to change and upgrade some of our, and I should talk to Laura about this. We still run an old boiler heater for our kilns. We're still making stuff product that was been made hundreds of years ago. We will mix water and some sand and some cement, and we put it in an oven, and that's how it's made. It takes an incredible amount of energy, and I want some feedback from outside the industry. I don't want the industry people telling me what we think we should be putting in there. I'd like to get some feedback from and some input from outside that. So that's why I joined. My climate utopia would be, and I would have to agree that it really shouldn't be political. It just should be in everybody's mindset. Are you doing the right thing? Is the next step that you make, and if it's a big step, is it the right thing that you're doing for the climate? Thanks.
That's great. Your wall is the sneakiest product display there. Carter.
All right, hey everybody. My name is Carter Oswald. I'm the executive director at Feed Iowa First. It's a local nonprofit here in Cedar Rapids. So our mission is to grow food and to grow farmers. And we manage about 25 urban farms in town. We also maintain really strong networks with local farmers, vegetable farmers, primarily all organic. Everything that we grow or take in is distributed at no cost throughout different distribution methods in Cedar Rapids. So why did I join? Well, I feel honored to be a part of it. I have a vested interest in the community. I'm born and raised in Cedar Rapids. Majority of the people, all my family lives here, but also it's great to see something at the local level go into effect. A lot of times you hear things that are much too broad to understand, whether they're within the EU or the US as a national policy, but something off the ground in your own community is a big deal. So climate utopia, what does it look like to me? You know, a lot of the words that have been said, renewable, regenerative, what we do today really impacts everything and everyone tomorrow. So kind of making those decisions calculated is definitely in the best interest of everybody. Also, the climate affects everything that we do, and within, growing crops, it's very much something that we can't control, but that we would love to participate in, kind of hoping getting back on track. So, yeah, thanks.
Great. And then Megan, did we get your audio sorted out?
All right. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, great. Okay, my name is Megan Crawford. I'm tenacious. I'm going to make this work. I just started a new job yesterday, so I have new technology that's not acting appropriately. I just joined the Mount Mercy University's graduate program as a recruiting person for the MBA programs and the Masters for Strategic Leadership. And so I come from a career development background within higher education and some nonprofit management. And so one of the things that I hope to be able to contribute is how green jobs and an approach to dealing with these growing industries could be really helpful. And I'm also a mom, and I just moved to Cedar Rapids in September. And so I think I hope to bring a perspective of being a citizen and being able to, and caring about the environment and wanting to leave the world a better place for my kids. And so I wanted to be a part of this and contribute to the community. When I think about my climate utopia, I think that aspects of it is that everyone understands their impact and that we're all connected. And so the systems thinking is something that is ingrained in everyone, to understand that a personal impact is made on other people as well when I make a personal decision for myself. And so I think that having that as a part of it is really important. And then also that we are, in addition to, I can't remember the Alliant Energy woman, but just saying that the cheapest option is the best option for the environment, regardless. And so I think that would be a utopia, that people wouldn't even have to consider it, that the best decision for the environment would be one that is the cheapest and the best for everybody. So, so thank you. Glad to be here.
Okay, great. Thank you all for sharing about yourselves a little bit, about your climate utopia. I think everybody brings, your own perspective, and it's really valuable to have that and to know kind of where everybody's coming from, so that as we dig deeper into these conversations, we can lean on each other and learn from each other to come to a place where you've put together a plan that works for you all and is something that you can buy into and deliver for the city and with the city. So I appreciate that. And I think that it will set us up nicely to continue along in this process. So next, we talked a little bit about what is the right order for this meeting, and we did a lot of the introductions, but now you're like, okay, but what are we doing? What's our role here? So I'm going to dig a little bit into project highlights and what you can expect through this process. It is a pretty ambitious timeline to get this plan developed and adopted by this coming fall, but it's certainly doable, and it's going to take all of your efforts and our efforts to make that happen. So let me share my screen again and kind of walk through some of this. So I'll just do a couple of slides of presentation, and then if there are any questions, I can answer those as well. So project highlights, and just kind of thinking about what the timing of all of this looks like. I brought it down to its most basic, I guess, and just kind of thinking through where things begin and where they are scheduled to conclude going forward. So this first couple of months, we're really digging into the information that's available, the data. We call this the existing conditions report. So where are you right now? What is that quantitative information, your energy consumption, your greenhouse gas inventories? What does all that mean? And then also looking at the different programs and policies that you have in place. What can we build on? What can we leverage to make sure that we're not just totally starting from scratch with a new plan, and we can have that momentum going forward. It also includes the resilience framework, which we'll get into more, but kind of assessing what those various vulnerabilities are, what the anticipated hazards are in the community, and how you can best prepare to respond and adapt to those. So that's what we're going to be working on for the bulk of the next 2 months, and we'll have a couple of presentations to this group to walk through those details of our findings that will build the foundation for where you'll start to make your decisions going forward. We're also going to be developing a community engagement plan. So we do, you are representatives of the community and will be the primary decision-making body, but we certainly want to make sure this is an inclusive process, and we're bringing in folks from all around the community to share their ideas and their input on the pieces that you'll be helping to develop. And then as we get into warmer weather coming up in April through to July, we'll start thinking about those priorities and initiatives, and that's where you all will start to do the work of the plan. And you've seen the information provided to you. You have kind of what your priorities might be. How does that all sync up together to come up with some strategies that'll work for the community? And the way that we want to structure the plan is that you'll have strategies to work toward those long-term goals that are in your resolution, but we also want to make sure that you have a plan that is functional and gets you off the ground immediately with some shorter-term initiatives that you'll be coming up with that are a bit more specific in what the city will be doing in the next shorter time frame. And then we start writing the plan. So we start drafting the plan based on your input from the community. We'll share that with you all for kind of final feedback and any modifications, and then presenting that final plan to you for approval. And once you approve that, it will go to City Council for adoption. And your role is really from now, the kind of kickoff of, I believe you're in phase 2 of your climate action planning process through the end of September, which is our goal for adoption in September of 2021. Any quick questions on highlights before I go into the next step? Yeah, Eric.
Did you want to touch on this story map, or you could...
Oh yeah. How about you highlight that for us?
Sure. Okay, just briefly. So this was something that was actually, we had been doing a lot of data collection. We did a public survey even, quite a while ago. We started some of this planning process, and so we basically have this story map as a type of format that you can share information. It's really compelling to aesthetically, but it will incorporate. They'll incorporate the results of the public survey. It'll incorporate data and concepts. And the purpose of that story map that'll be coming out in the next couple of weeks will be largely for public educational purposes, kind of as a very general, this is where we're starting. It's not really meant to make many value statements, but just to say this is where we are and these types of things are important things that we should consider. And this is what Cedar Rapids residents say about the survey that we had conducted. And then I think, Abby, you can answer this as you need. Then the conditions report that GPI and consultant team is working on will have a bit more technical data, and it will be intended to use for this process for the advisory committee. So story map is kind of big educational thing for the public, and conditions report that consultant team is working on will be kind of more technical and will include specific metrics that we'll use to, or different data points and ideas that we'll use to steer like the process for resilience and the process for greenhouse gas mitigation and more. That's probably not the best job I've done in trying to give that overview, but Abby, is that making, any questions about that? It's kind of almost like two different conditions report. One will be for the general public and kind of a big overview, and then one will be used for this team specifically to make decisions or to start us making decisions. Is that all right, Abby?
Yeah, I think the story map is a really good kind of visualization of just representing what the plan is about and why the community is doing it, what's involved. So
cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you. Sorry, I glossed over that.
All good.
So here is the timeline and the role for this group. So we talked a little bit earlier about, your role is really to guide the development of the plan. This isn't our plan, we're helping to write it and put the pieces together, but we really want this to be a plan that comes from you and the priorities that you put forward. So you'll be the primary decision-making body. We'll set up kind of criteria for how you make decisions. And then we'll dig into what those priorities and initiatives are based on existing conditions and your perspectives. And we want to make sure that it's a balanced plan. We have oftentimes perspectives are in agreement and sometimes they're at odds. And so how do we come together to reach consensus on some of those issues that might be a little bit at odds? We'll also be looking to you to support some of the community engagement efforts, and we'll talk about that in more detail in a couple of meetings, but we'll be developing that plan and really want to lean on you to also be that kind of voice to the community as well as the voice of the community. Timeline, expect to meet about 2 times a month, especially for this first 5 or 6 months or so. Might feel a little bit intense, but it will also make the winter pass by that much faster. So just expect to have those meetings. I think we'll aim for about 1.5 hours each month, or each meeting, sorry. And we'll try to aim for about this time of day if that works for folks too. So just looking ahead, the next meeting, and Katie will talk about this in a little bit, we're going to do an introduction to, or an equity framework. So today is the introduction meeting, and then we'll work through an equity framework just so we all kind of have that level set of where we're starting with that. And then March is going to focus on those existing condition presentations, so walking through some of that data information and the resilience framework. And then we'll start getting into engagement, developing the strategies, getting down and doing some of that work April into the summer. And then as we get later into the summer, we'll have that draft plan ready for you all to review as well. And we'll be looking for your feedback for that. So any questions on the role and timeline? Good. Everybody still signed up with this ambitious timeline? All right. So I also wanted to kind of set some expectations and ground rules, norms, whatever you want to call them, for these meetings, so that we all are coming to these meetings with that same set of expectations. I just threw up a bunch of norms. We will commit to beginning these meetings on time and ending the meetings on time. And so we're asking you all to show up on time, be prepared. There might be homework before meetings, different readings, those kinds of things. So make sure that you're prepared for the conversation. Prioritize being able to make these meetings. We'll need, at least 7 for quorum. It would be great if we could all attend all of them, but obviously, life happens sometimes. So if you miss a meeting from time to time, I think that's okay. But let's just try to make as many as we can. When you are here, be present. I know it can be easy to multitask and have multiple monitors open and going through that. I think most of the meetings will be virtual. We'll try to see if we can do some in-person meetings this summer as the vaccine rolls out and we can be outside and be in safer conditions. So we'll monitor that and see what we can do. I appreciate that you all have your cameras on. That's really great. Oftentimes you might be talking to a whole bunch of names rather than faces. So it's really nice to see you all, and thank you for doing that. We're doing a great job of muting when not speaking. I think this next one is one of the most important, is contributing to the discussion. So make sure that you're present, you're a part of the conversation, you're engaged. Stepping up and stepping back means, if you feel like maybe you've been quiet this meeting, make sure, throw yourself in there and contribute to that conversation. I'll do my best to make sure that I'm recognizing everybody in the meeting and make sure that everybody has given their input throughout the meeting. If you feel like you've been talking a lot, maybe you recognize that and take a little bit of a step back and see if there's other folks who have something to say on a topic. And then, just listen, have an open mind and make sure that we're all respecting one another through these meetings. Are there any that maybe are obvious that are missing, or that you feel like you've been in meetings that you think are good norms that you'd like to include here?
I really like to add the rule of 2 too, which is if you've said something, wait until 2 other people have spoken before you say something again. So allow it to really truly be a sort of conversation among the whole group rather than just a back and forth between 2 people.
That's great. That reinforces the stepping back. I like it. Others?
Just what Eric had mentioned at the beginning about making sure, now I'm completely losing my train of thought. Making sure that we stick to the agenda, and maybe having, we call it a pad of paper that has everything else on it, that doesn't apply.
Right.
We can just place it there.
Parking lot.
Thank you.
The bike
But
rack.
I think you guys covered the bike rack. Yeah, sorry.
My day normally ends at 4:30, so these last 8 minutes, you're lucky I'm awake.
Great. Others? Okay. Well, I think that this is a really good place to start, and we'll make sure that this is all in the notes, and that can serve as a refresher for future meetings as well. Thank you all for contributing to this conversation, and we have extra time for Katie is going to dip us in and give us a preview to our second meeting, which will focus on equity. And I'm glad that we have a little bit more time to give to that. So I'm going to turn it over to Katie and stop my screen share.
Thanks, Abby. So we have about 15 minutes and 3 questions. It sounds like a game show. I hope it's as fun. And I want to just take a quick poll. Who has used Google Jamboard before? Raise your hand on your camera. Okay, we've got a couple people. All right, so, you know, like Abby said, our next meeting is a much deeper dive on equity. And just because we're just meeting you today for the first time, we really just want to understand where you're starting from. And it's totally fine and totally expected that everyone is starting from a different place on how equity, how justice can be a part of this work. And that's totally fine if you're feeling a little bit like you want to be brought along with some of the folks who are a little more versed in that. But we have 3 questions. I'm going to pass it to Ucha, who has already posted a link in the chat. If you want to click on that link, she's going to walk you through how to use Jamboard, which we will likely use in our next meeting as well. So this is also serving as a practice round.
Eric or Abby, would either of you be able to give me the ability to share my screen?
I think Sylvia can do that.
Yes, just one second. Ucha, was that you?
Yes.
Yep, you should be good now.
Wonderful. Okay. So briefly, Jamboard is a Google platform that allows you to kind of collaborate simultaneously, which I think might be a little bit different for those of you who have never used Jamboard before. And I'm just going to go through a brief demo of how you use it. So we'll be using just the sticky note feature for this sort of 10 minutes. You'll just come right over here to where it says sticky note, click on it. All right, this is a test, save, and then there is your comment. And you can kind of, customizing is limited, but if you want to kind of make yours a special color, you can do that. And so I'll keep sharing my screen. And as we move from page to page, you'll be able to see which one we're on. And so we'll be starting with this page 1. And if you aren't able to share your sticky note, feel free to type a comment and I will track those. Or put a comment in the chat and I will track those.
Awesome. So we're going to run these 3 questions a little bit differently than one another. The first one is like a brain dump. I'm only going to give you 1 minute and I'm going to time you. If you can't get into the Jamboard, like Ucha said, just post your answers to this question in the chat. We just want to hear, what words do you associate with equity? So most of these we'll discuss kind of while folks are putting things on. I'm gonna just time us for this one and see what we come up with. Ready?
Which I don't know if it'd be worth, maybe everyone knows how, but I don't know if a second repetition of directions might be useful.
Yes, absolutely. So you're just gonna come over here to the sticky note, click on it, make it whatever color you want, type whatever you'd like, and then it'll kind of show up in this area and you can just move it right on over.
30 seconds. All right. That was a minute of a brain dump. Does anyone want to expand on what words they wrote down? I see some really good ones. I might call out someone who wrote equal is not always fair. Does anyone want to share what that means to them?
So I put equal is not always fair because I always think of the picture of 3 young children looking over a fence at a ball game. And one is a tall kid, one is a medium kid, and one is a short kid. And if we give everybody the same thing, only one kid still gets to see the ball game. But the people that are shorter, you know, they need a larger box in order to get to the same view. So, you know, we may need to do things differently and provide more for those that need the help while not focusing on areas that can kind of help themselves.
Thanks, Laura. Any other comments before we move on to the other two? And I see Jason raised his hand.
Similarly, in my experience, I've seen I get many, many more opportunities because I'm white, I'm male, educated, well-spoken. And so these doors just fly open for me. And then someone, you know, it may look like an equal opportunity of me going into a situation, but I've had all this momentum of opportunities behind me that gives me a huge advantage historically. So I totally get that.
Awesome. Thanks, Jason. All right, I'm going to move us on to the next one because I really want to focus most of our time on the last one. But this next one is really, who do you associate with equity? So this could be generally, this could be specific to Cedar Rapids. This could be specific to climate equity and climate justice. So I'm going to give you 2 minutes, and we can do this a little more informally. I'm not going to make you hear my buzzer. I'm not going to time you too close, but if you want to start adding responses to this, also raising your hand if you want to discuss further, you can start that now. And Mugisha, do you want to talk?
Oh, so what you said, associate ourselves with, did you say organizations? What did you say it again?
Who do you associate with equity? Who do you think of when we talk about equity in the context of Cedar Rapids or climate or just generally? Any other questions about this one? We like this Jamboard because it gives folks kind of a minute to think before we dive into discussion too sometimes and feed off of other people. Bernie Sanders. Sorry, I like it. I guess another way to frame this question too for folks might be maybe who do you associate with equity, but also who is experiencing inequity in climate and in Cedar Rapids specifically. So we can keep adding to this. We have about another minute left on this one. Anyone want to expand on what they wrote or discuss anything? I only used this joke once, so if I use it again, you got to call me out. But I used to be a high school science teacher, so I can wait a while for people to talk.
Who I associate with equity are teachers, because they're seeing our youth who makes up our community, the youngest people. So I think they get the largest dose of seeing who makes up our community and works with them every day, navigates how to teach them, sees their growth. Yeah, I think teachers. Yeah.
Thanks, Rachel. Anyone else?
I'll add on to Rachel when it comes to healthcare providers. You know, everyone goes there and their sole purpose is just cure, treat, you know, get you out healthy. So.
Yeah, I mean, we see a lot of inequity though, even just in COVID rollout. And I'm not sure if you're experiencing that in Iowa, but in a lot of places. There's an article about Houston and where vaccination sites are relative to communities of color and communities that have a lower socioeconomic group. How does that tie in with some of our other resilience work, access to healthcare? Yeah.
Or who
All
was
right.
determined essential during the pandemic, and now who's determined essential when the vaccine gets rolled out?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, to get just a step broader and just at institutions, I mean, we're supposed to place such faith in that they're just, whether it's a vaccine rollout or a criminal court. And so just in terms of doling out equity, just looking at it from that point of view.
Yeah. All right, I'm going to move us to the last question, and this link is still active though after this meeting if you think of something else you want to add. But our last question is trying to get a little more personal. So, you know, for you as an individual, how is equity a part of your day-to-day or your current work? And you could be brief and say that it's central to it, or some of the ways that you integrate it, or you know, you could do a longer answer. I'm happy to have this be a little bit more about, you know, anecdotes that y'all might have as well. Anyone want to expand on what you're writing here? So for instance, I'm going to call someone out. Finding ways to eliminate waste that goes to landfills. Can someone, whoever wrote that, talk a little bit more about how you see that related to equity? Not at all saying it's not. I just want to hear a little bit more about your thought process.
Well, according to the rules, I shouldn't be talking.
All right.
So someone else has to talk.
All right. Why don't expand on that, and then I will try not to pick yours.
Okay, I'll give you a hint. Mine are pink. So
okay.
So again, I go back to the derecho. Because of all of the people that had to get rid of waste around their home, things like that. You know, our landfill now cut like I think 3 to 4 years off of its life expectancy. And so as a company, the more we can find ways to keep things out of the landfill, we're not only doing the right thing, but we're also leaving, you know, corporations have more money to do things. Whereas from a personal aspect, you know, I may not know how to reuse a screen door that came off with the storm, but I can, as a company, find a way to beneficially reuse utility bowls that fell down and not take up that space. So for me, it's not only just the right thing to do, but also, you know, certain places like landfills, people do need, but they don't need to be filled with industrial waste that can be reused.
I love the one about not making assumptions and checking bias. Does someone want to expand on that?
Good news, it wasn't me.
I like that you color coordinated. That was very helpful. At least for me, you know, so much of this is about making sure that empathy is a part of your process, about how you engage community, how we have conversations as a group, like truly listening. That's really what I hear when I read that. Anyone else want to expand?
Hey, Megan, maybe try again. I think that it's because your phone is in the attendee. And so I just allowed you to talk, I guess is the phrasing it gives me.
Hear me?
Yep.
Great. Yeah. So this is Megan. Yeah, I put that on there. I think when I think in this kind of day and age where we're having to really question our bias and really be curious about people and also curious about our processes. I think that there's a lot of processes that it's the way we've always done it, and things that there's just kind of unspoken rules and things that have been happening. And now is the time to start questioning those things and being really curious. Because that helps us understand what processes aren't working and who are we discounting, whose voice isn't at the table. And so I think that that's a really important piece for equity in all different areas, including the climate as well.
Thank you so much. I'm glad you got unmuted. All right, well, we have 4 minutes left. I'm very tempted with extra time to ask an extra question, but I'll leave it to Abby about whether or not you want to give Eric a little more time to wrap up, or if I can ask one more.
What is the next one?
There isn't one. It's in my head.
It's in your head. Go ahead, ask it.
All right,
No,
all right.
we're just curious if we don't want to hear it.
We'll just discuss this one because I want to have, you know, I want to make sure that, oh, you don't need to skip to the next one because I was halfway between typing it while I was facilitating. So I think I just want to hear, like, if there's any initial concerns or anxiety about the way we integrate equity into this, or not really knowing what that looks like. Are folks feeling any sense of anxiety around what that could look like or should look like? And I guess the reason why I'm asking that is because part of what we want to do is make sure we're supporting this group and being able to do that effectively.
I think for me, like, I do have a little bit of anxiety because a lot of times when you make decisions, you think about like your own situation, your own worldview, and even when you want to consider someone like that might not have the same equity as you, for example, like you might still fall short, or you might still have those biases that Laura was talking about. And I think bringing in those different communities, those different people, with different voices, I think it's important. And I know our committee right now, we're 13 people, we all have different backgrounds, but we're still probably all within like maybe a certain socioeconomic class, maybe within a certain segment of the population. And I think just making sure that we are listening and not just coming up with our own ways because we think it's equitable.
Yeah, and I really appreciate you saying that, because I think that doing this work well, again, is about empathy, not about doing it perfectly every single time, and not about knowing everything every single time, but going into this with a mutual respect, just like this thing says about our intention and making right on our actions, right? Christine, I think you wanted to say something.
Yeah, well, just knowing my position in life, I can easily pay a bill. I don't feel like I struggle with biases coming at me all the time. And so one thing that's constantly on my mind is, am I thinking about other perspectives? And honestly, there's just times where you don't know what you don't know. And so even with, working with different schools and different neighborhoods and trying to put together a sustainability plan for an entire district that deals with all of these minorities, no matter what it is, knowing that I don't have that perspective from a lot of people, and just hoping that I'm not missing something crucial with what that comes up later. Like, well, why didn't you think about this? Well, I don't know. I don't live it. And so one thing that I am just conscious of all the time is just that of my little world compared to everyone else's.
Thanks, Christine. All right, I'm a stickler for time, and we're at 5 p.m. right now. So we have 2 more folks with hands raised that just got lowered. Abby, do you want to let the last 2 or?
I think that since this is leading into our conversation for next time, let's go with that, and let's turn it over to Eric. But I really appreciate you guys, contributing to the discussion. And for those who raise their hands and we're going to write that down, and we'll make sure to get to you next time for sure. And let's turn it over to Eric, and we'll close it out. Thank you, Katie.
Thanks, y'all. Appreciate it.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks, Katie. Thanks, Abby, and all the committee members. I'm really excited for the journey. I'm excited that we'll have a lot of meetings to come where we can all give a lot of different input and weave our way through this pretty complex but very forward-thinking process. And so I'm really happy to have the consultants. I'm really happy to have the committee members. So just some logistics to leave off. Our next meeting, I think I'm gonna say it right. It's February 23rd. That's a Tuesday. It's at 3:30 p.m. Goes to 5 o'clock. I'll be reaching out to schedule future meetings after I touch base with Abby and talk about some of those needs coming up. So we'll be in touch to do future meetings after the 23rd. Minutes will be posted soon, and so will the recording. Chris, thank you for taking those minutes. And those can be found if you search the Cedar Rapids Boards and Commissions page. You can find the Climate Advisory Committee. You can also go to cityofcr.com/climate, and you can find a link to the Boards and Commission page there for the Advisory Committee. Contact me with any questions by email. You can text me, you can call me. And let's see here. Same way, an agenda and a link will be shared with you. That link will be specific to you for the February 23rd meeting. So hopefully that will land in everyone's inboxes just fine, but contact me if not. And I think that's about it. So really happy to see everybody. It's been a long time coming getting this group together, and we've got an exciting process in front of us. So I'm really excited for Cedar Rapids to lead, for us to grow a lot of pride and experience and accomplishments as a community. So thanks for being here, everybody. Anything to leave off right now, Abby? Anything else?
That's great. I just appreciate everybody's time. So thank you all.
Cool. Well, that's the meeting. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks, Eric.
Bye, everybody.
Nice to meet everyone.
Bye.